Here he is in the bottom right-hand corner, our American Zerg player, Hawk.
And his magical opponent, the Polish powerhouse, Protoss Bonyth.
Gamer_fear is
TVZ,
Sabagosu
yet
for
again,
16
Radion.
months.
Now, will Bonyth take the same risks that QiaoGege took here on this map? It's tempting to try and sneak out a Nexus first, but if he can get away with it, it's even harder to punish than it is for a Terran player to get in there and deal any damage. As soon as it's all set up and done, it's just a massive hill to climb for the Zerg, and you kind of have to just play from behind and be resigned to doing so.
Yeah, you're right, Cyan. It gives you an edge, but Bonyth isn't the type of player that takes risks. And none of the matchup never plays like DTs in the PvP, or almost never plays DTs in PvP or PvT. He feels comfortable with his micro, so I would say that we'll see each and every game a gateway opening because he's just so confident with his micro.
And he's got close positions here, so Gateway may be able to find some level of damage, especially with the micro displayed by Bonyth. His ability to keep on harassing these drones and get a couple of them low. Maybe he can lay that up into a drone kill as the Zealot comes across the horizontal axis of this map and tries to get in here. Hawk so far doing a great job, though, not allowing this Protoss to get damage, constantly firing on that at all times, making sure that it can't just hit this drone line without reprisal.
Yeah, that's a quite frequent opening because we get the Zealot before the Zerglings will go out. Especially that Bonyth managed to delay a little bit the spawning pool, and he will follow up with the Nexus and immediately with a Fort. That will, he will try to buy as much time with the Zealot, just in order to be able to build the cannon and have the expansion secured. So this isn't even about buying or dealing damage, it's more about buying time now.
Well, that may be the case, but if you could get one or two, even two drone kills, it is insane the advantage that can buy you. He is going to go behind the mineral patches now, just buying that time. Wasn't able to get any damage with the probe initially, so wasn't able to really target down one of these drones. The probe does a good job of helping the Zealot get this trade, manages to get a couple of lings at least, and he is buying a huge amount of time here, looping around and around in this main base. Finally going to lose that Zealot, but done the job that it was meant to. Buys that time, and there should be a cannon finishing up here shortly.
And first out of links, that could be drones, especially that's something that you want to do when you're opening with a hatch first. So it looks really, really decent for Bonyth, even though, like we said and we saw, he didn't deal too much of a damage to our Zerg player.
A little bit stuck here at 18 of 18. We'll clear that supply block here in a moment, but that is a problem when you're dealing with this early Zealot. Right as it comes in and you've got the lings, trying to micro, trying to keep the drones back. If you miss an Overlord, that can actually cause more damage than the Zealot itself, because you're missing out on producing drones during all of that time. In fact, he's pulled off of gas, not even going to mine that gas. He's really worried about not having enough minerals here to get the hatches out that he wants, and we may be seeing like a 4-hatch Hydra, something along those lines coming out of Hawk. And indeed, he is throwing down that 4th hatch. We're likely to see a Hydraless Den here in just a moment. I'm a big fan of this play, so I'm really excited to see what Hawk can do with it.
Yeah, going back to your initial point about the delayed Overlord, everybody is playing perfectly when they are not interrupted. And this kind of opening, when you deal a little bit of damage, deal a little bit of harassment, makes the opponent sometimes make a mistake, and that's one of the bigger advantages that this opening can give you. But I'm looking forward also to the for Hatch Hydra. This isn't a typical common build nowadays. Usually you can see either free Hatch Hydra bust or fake bust or a layer play. Usually you don't see those 4 or 5 Hydra plays openings these days. So I'm looking forward about what's the idea here.
For me, I really enjoy the 4 Hatch Hydra because of the power it gives you right around that time in the mid game when Zealot Corsair attacks are so common. Even just pure Zealot timings, you can definitely produce enough. You've got the hatcheries early enough to threaten a Hydralisk bust and also to defend against those Zealot timings. And then the way that I like to play it out is going into just like you're talking about battles or off of this, get the Spire out, because when the Protoss player sees what you're doing here with the 4 Hatch Hydra, they're not thinking about mutas. So if you immediately make a layer after getting these initial Hydras out and getting these drones up, and then go directly into Spire and pop out a bunch of mutas, you can sometimes take the Protoss player completely off guard, get a bunch of those High Templar kills, and then overwhelm them with Hydras. We'll see if Hawk has the same idea in mind so far, just producing the bare minimum number of Hydras to keep his Overlords alive and the Zealots back, and cranking out as many drones as he can. But this is a fair amount of Zealots at a pretty kind of usual timing here. 7 minutes is right around the time when those upgrades can start to come online, and we can often see the Zealot timing kind of revolve around that. You can see more and more units popping here out of Hawk, but I don't know if Bonyth is really interested in doing this attack. He's hiding how many Zealots he has, and now he's suddenly going to come out with a pretty high count of Zealots. Is Hawk ready for this?
I think
No.
that
Go ahead.
I just want to say that this is a really nice attempt by Bonyth, but on the other hand, I think that Hawk won't deal too much damage to Bonyth with this opening, with this attack.
No, I don't think he will either. I think that the 4 Hatch Hydra is really well suited to deal with the timing attacks like this. This is exactly what I was talking about, Missouri. These type of timings are really popular right now, and they're very hard to deal with just traditional, if you're going for a Spire and, you're trying to hold on initially with maybe a few mutas, something like that. Can be tough,
yeah.
But when you've got this much production so early on, you're just gonna have way more units to start to push this away. DT gonna slip by. Can he actually go for it? Okay. It's scary. It is very scary, Missouri, because you don't have Overlord speed. You don't have Overlord speed. Your layer is super late. If that DT gets by into the natural or into the main, it's a big problem. You're gonna lose a lot.
Yeah, I was really surprised with the execution of the attack. Usually, especially that Bonyth saw exactly what Hawk is doing. So usually when Protoss players see that kind of opening, they're just threatening a little bit, the attack just moving around, not dedicating the Zealots to any kind of push, just in order to have the potential to deal some damage, and then rush storms and to the 8-10 gateways depending on the opening.
I'm curious, are we gonna see a Spire here? You definitely do need a Spire eventually, but adding it this early, it's looks like not on the menu here for Hawk. Instead, focusing on Hydralisk production, and has now that 45 drone count, perfect for just pounding out Hydras on 3 base, 6 hatchery. Zealots making their way into this third. He's not quite ready for this, but he's got a lot of Hydras nearby. Can bring those to bear here at a moment's notice. Gonna go ahead and try to micro on top of the DT. My goodness, great micro there. A fantastic drone pull to actually fight that DT and kill it off with only losing, what, 1-2 drones?
And really nice defense by Hawk. But going back to your question about the Muta switch, last time I was casting Hulk's game, he liked this kind of opening. He did it, I think, once or twice with the Muta switch. It's very, very powerful. But in this game, we see an additional expansion taken by Hulk and a lurker, the lurker upgrade already ready and morphing some initial lurkers.
We'll see how this works for Hawk, but whenever I see the Protoss player on this few Corsairs, I'm building that Spire. That Spire is coming down because the commitment is so low, the amount of anti-air is so low, and there's a lot of High Templar here waiting. It's going to be tough to take this fight out in the middle of the map without being able to snipe the High Templars first. He's going to come out with these lurkers and just kind of hope that Bonyth attacks into those, because if he has to try and run on top of this army with a bunch of lurkers, you know, say it gets over here into the top right, and he has to attack into the Protoss army in order to surround and kill it, he is going to have a really hard time doing that without losing everything to Storm. And he's still making drones over here, up to 60 drones already. This is a prime opportunity for Bonyth to shut down Hawk right before he gets full macro mode engaged.
And now the question is there an observer ready for Bonyth?
There it is. Observer is at the left-hand side, kind of over top of the no man's land there. Lurkers coming around the backside. Can he get rid of the High Templar before they get too many storms off? One High Templar goes down immediately, but the rest are going to get their storms going. And it looks like he actually stormed his observer, so he's not going to be able to kill this other lurker, but I mean, he definitely pushes out of there with some great success. If Hawk had sniped that observer before all the lurkers fell, that could have been an amazing trade for him. You would have had to spend every single storm on every single Templar to get out of that bad spot. But as it stands, Bonyth still has some High Templar here. He's still got quite a bit of storm ready, and Hawk is running in between the bases. Oh my god, running right up on top of this. Yeah, this is not going to work out well for Hawk. The trade is going to go so well for Bonyth here.
Oh my god, really nice storms, really nice execution, but Hawk's army was really scattered. A little bit on top, on move, lurkers were moving. You never attack with the lurkers, unless you have a swarm.
Yeah, it's never really going to go well for you, and this is the fear that I had with this play from Hawk. He is going to try to get the full surround now. But a few storms getting laid down on these flanking Hydras, and the core army of Dragoons is still alive and well as the Hydras disappear. This game is over. Dragoons will completely overwhelm this position, and GG is called. Hawk taps out Bonyth. Very convincing win there, game number 1.
Very. There were more goons than Hydras in total, I would say, and perfect execution. Really reminded me of how Reach was playing, or some of the old school players that are currently coming back. Those kind of goon-heavy mid-game attacks when you just see dozens of goons supported by only a few zealots and a couple of High Templars. It's very difficult to deal with as a third player.
Definitely. Especially if you're having to move lurkers around the map and try to contest the rotation of the Protoss player. You can poke the 4th, you can poke the 3rd, just see what kind of lurkers are ready for him there, and then move into a position where the lurkers are not. And guys, we're ready to jump into game number 2. Let's get it going. Another one. Here he is in the top right-hand corner, our Polish Protoss, Bonyth.
And on the top left side of the map, our American Zerg Hulk. So, All-Star, let's see how this will work. I think that, as you mentioned, when you were describing your ideal opening, or rather strategy for the opening that how decided, the mutas were missing. Imagine a situation when just a couple of mutas, group 6, 10, jumped in, killed those High Templars, the game would go totally different.
Absolutely. You can engage in the middle of the map like that, like where Bonyth was way out in the map. It's not a problem if you have those, or if you can get rid of those High Templars and just engage purely with the Hydras. But didn't have that tech available. Uh, it's also a problem if you go into lurkers like that. The problem I find is not only that it's hard to defend everywhere and take a decent fight, but it's also very hard to deal with drops. Drops are just going to abuse the heck out of you, especially in that position on Radeon. What we saw Bonyth, in horizontal positions, he could just send drops directly across, and there's nothing you can do about it. Dropping right into your main and natural without much warning. Now Hawk switching up his play here. We'll see if he wants to switch up his tech as well, but he's starting out with an overpool, less aggressive, or less greedy, excuse me. More middle of the road play from him. This is a very strong way to open. It doesn't give you option to really shut down a Protoss that's being greedy, or try to get ahead by being greedy yourself, but it gives you a pretty good solution to basically everything that the Protoss can pull here in the early game.
Exactly, exactly. And here, I think that it might be a little bit difficult for Hog, the opening that Bonnie decided to go for. So the initial Zealot, we know that Bonnie's micro is just amazing with the Zealot. So I want to see how Hog will defend about those initial couple of Zealots.
Well, one way to deal with those early zealots is to threaten the run by, right? If you're being scared, sitting back at home with the initial zealots, trying not to let 4 lings pass, then it allows the Zerg player to build less lings. You only need these 4 to keep, 3 zealots back. That's perfect. Slip out a
I
couple more drones and wait for the zealots to be aggressive.
Yeah, you're right. But I really love the probe waiting in the middle of the road between both bases, just checking if any additional Zerglings are coming in.
He's confirming no more lings on the way. Will consider moving out with these 2 zealots, but as
Oh my
soon as
god.
the lings run by, again, look at this. This is perfect from Hawk, just taking up these zealots' time. They're out on the map, but they're not scary here if they're just back at home sitting in the natural.
I'm wondering if Bonne intentionally moved those Zealots out because it almost looked like those Zerglings would be trapped between the two Zealots that were coming back and those that Zealots focused up on the ramp. So maybe that was the mindset behind the move out. It was really amazing and then really interesting.
Hawk continuing to keep all the zealots back with just 4 lings droning up to his heart's content. Now the probe's going to make a run into the main. Will in fact slide by. Pretty frustrating for Hawk here, who had those 4 lings waiting to block out the probe, but unable to do so. Everything's been scouted, and it's looking like a layer play from him. Probably a Spire going to be coming up here shortly and defending this Corsair play. Much more standard build, and one that we see far more often than that 4-hatch Hydra in game number 1.
Yeah. The initial cannon was also a little bit delayed, so Bonnie could probably place and build his initial Stargate a little bit faster. Than oh yeah, so we've got the Spire just started like 20-30% in, and the Stargate is almost ready.
We'll see if he is able to get another 2 kills on Overlords. He's been able to do that multiple times in previous series, taking advantage of these Zerg players and the timing of their Spire. And he's going to follow up with that Citadel as well, getting all of the techs online. Now, I had a hangout, a meeting with Urbmon kind of recently, and one thing he was telling me about Zerg is that when the Protoss player is teching, you need to make units, and when the Protoss player is making units, you need to be teching. So we see a lot of tech coming out of Bonyth right now. Is Hawk going to stay primarily on units and try to overwhelm, or is he going to try to tech up really hard now as well?
You know, I'm not totally agreeing, because usually when the Protoss players are playing, the openings are very standard, right? It's very difficult to differentiate when he's teching, when he's not teching. Usually they do, okay, opening with a Corsair to scout, then legs, then High Templar and things like that. Everything is quite standard. So Zerg is the more flexible race. Protoss usually need to stick to the standard openings. Otherwise, it's very, very difficult. Okay. Let's see. So after the initial scourges, we see Hydras coming in. Everybody's playing Hydras. No Muta lovers and for this Zerg. Really surprised with that.
Yeah, surprising for sure. And he's gonna scout in here, see that more Corsairs are being made. So it's actually not a bad decision here. The Corsair number is gonna be very high. And the Scourge, Muta's not going to do too well against that. If he's got a very good supply of Hydras out, though, he can shut down this play and get into a nice supply of drones. He's worked his way up to 32. That's right around the time when you want to start making Hydras once again, because the Protoss player can start to really threaten you. 7 minutes in, it's time for a Zealot timing. Nice connection there with some Scourge. Again, gets a little connection, but loses an Overlord here at the natural. One sunken colony at each base. A lot of Hydras ready to go. I don't think that Bonyth is making much progress here, and Hawk should be able to push this away. Look to start droning once again here soon. All right, with just the 5 hatches, trying to push back these Zealots, not targeting onto any of the Corsairs, so the Overlords are going to die in mass quantities. 3 Overlords go down very quickly. The Lings here trying to get in front and body block, but they're not doing the best job. A lot of Hydras were falling during that last fight, and the Lings were still left over at the end, and so Hawk doesn't have any open supply to build anything. Oh my gosh, he moved out with the Hydras here for 1 second, and Bonyth is immediately in on top of all of that. This is getting a little bit overwhelming now. The damage is really starting to stack up here, Mazur.
And still didn't lose a single Corsair.
Oh
really
my gosh.
Perfect.
You cannot leave those Overlords alone for even a second against these pro-level Protoss players. They are just always waiting for that opportunity to dive.
As now Hawk managed to come out of his supply block. Bonyth is visiting again, yet again trying to snipe more Overlords. Do we see Mutas there being built?
Something is heading across the map. I'm not sure what it is, but I feel like Hawk is in just total disarray at this point. He's trying to pull things together, but he's losing more drones. There's some Mutas popping out now, but it feels too late. Too much damage has happened, and there's still a lot of Corsairs here. All right, those Corsairs finally do end up going down for the most part. You can see 1 Corsair is left remaining. That's going to be tracked down. Can Hawk make a big comeback? This is the tech that allows for big comebacks, though. Mutas, even though they're not the best fighting force, if you can get a bunch of probe kills, possibly snipe a bunch of High Templar, there is a comeback mechanic in Broodwar that can allow you to make a huge return, even from a big deficit here as a Zerg.
Yeah, but Bon is smartly moving out some of his zealots just to buy time, just to create a potential of a threat, not even a threat itself. So buying time to build those cannons, build additional Corsairs, and just be ready for the meta attack.
Yeah, it looks good to trade some Dragoons here, but it's actually pretty painful. Hawk really needs to get some insanely good trades, like killing off every Templar at that natural maybe, or flying in and killing, you know, 10 probes, something like that will help him to get back in this game. But anything less is just going to delay Bonyth slightly here. Bonyth sitting in his natural, knowing that he doesn't have enough anti-air to deal with this. He doesn't have Dark Archon. We don't see that potential. Hawk just going to sit and wait for these High Templar to come out. He needs to get these snipes. He's actually building Sunken Colonies back at home, interestingly enough, and continuing to build Hydras like crazy, going up to almost 50 drones. He knows that there's a big attack coming, and he's just preparing for the storm.
I'm really
High Templar
surprised that
finally
Bon
out of
is
the
moving
natural.
out. Yeah, that
51 drones. Isn't that too many? Like, how are we gonna be using all of these drones? It's crazy. Fly through on the top. So many Sunkens going down. What am I actually looking at right now? I think we might be seeing Hawk in a bit of desperation, throwing down all these Sunkens and hoping that he can just hold on while sending the Mutalisk around maybe to deny a third. I mean, is this a real strategy, Mister? What are we seeing right now?
I think that Coke just decided I won't die. Maybe I won't win the game, but I won't die. Saying that, Bonnie is proving him wrong. At least it looks like that.
Yeah, he's cracking through pretty strongly. There is an observer in here. He's got to kill that observer. Oh my gosh, he lets the observer live. The mutas are on top of all this. Oh, the lurkers in the backline are going to get double stormed and all die immediately. They're certainly not going to get the work done that needs to be done here for Hawk to survive. More lurkers pop out. Kill the observer. Oh my gosh, Hawk still trying to dodge around and around here. Finally diving in on the High Templar, committing to getting these kills, and he does get all the kills here. Not going to be broken. Bonyth shoved back, and he's actually behind in supply somehow. And these three High Templar, they might all die. Oh my gosh, okay. I guess he could just force out the storms. No, he's going to back away for now.
Really, for a moment there, I really thought that the game will end with this attack. But, like I said, Hawk decided I'm not dying now. Rebuilding Sunkens. But, saying that also, Hawk is a little bit on his back foot, right? He doesn't have a big army, he has a group of Hydras, group of Mutas. That's not something you can kill a Protoss with. So, and you can't even deny the expansion of Bone that is currently happening.
That's right, and the Dragoon count is being remade. There was a moment there where there was no Dragoons left, and the mutas could just fly right over. Kind of take out Templar uncontested. That's no longer the case. Taking a fight with some of these Dragoons. I don't think it's optimal. These Mutalisks, once again, they need to get High Templar kills so that Hydras can do their work. Kind of free of the Hydra, or free of the High Templar storm damage coming up here. Looks like he may be able to kill off these cannons. No, gonna back away for now. Just those 8 mutas that have been made. I think it's maybe a little bit too crazy. This game is a bit too chaotic for Hawk to make any sort of a switch. He may just want to stay on Mutalisk and Hydra here and try to battle Zerg it out and prevent a 4th base from coming up ever. Gonna dive on top of High Templar. No, backs away immediately there as the preemptive storm comes down. Wants to take a trade where Bonyth isn't even paying attention to the army, so he can get a couple High Templar kills before the storms start to come out. A lot of sunken colonies going down here, but these High Templars have made it across the map unscathed, and they've got a lot of energy to work with. Here we go, diving on top of the High Templar now. A couple of storms forced out once again. Still some lurkers here in the back line, but the sunkens, for the most part, were not finished. 2 sunken colonies at the front there. And a third one here nearer to the back is not going to be ready to go for this defense. Some Hydras come up from the south, but immediately stormed upon their arrival. Still some High Templar here, man. I'm a little bit shocked to see Hawk not dive harder on these High Templars, just try to get rid of them. He's constantly staying around the outside and keeping the mutas alive, but the storms keep landing on these Hydras, and they're changing these fights. Now the army rotating over towards this third. I doubt he'll be able to break the third. That is so many sunken colonies up on high ground. Much better off trying to push this natural, and so he's going to continue with this push. The Dragoon count is unreasonably high. Good dodge there with the mutas, but the problem still remains. These mutas cannot kill all the High Templar. In fact, he's just going to fight here, and a few more storms will clear out everything. Bonyth pushing forward for the win. Hawk is going to have to tap out here as the ball of Dragoons encroaches on this position, killing off this last hatchery in the natural. GG is